Greetings of the day. In this today's session, we are going to discuss lasers. So, when we call laser, already you have an idea that what do you mean by laser and what is the full form of laser. So, in this session, we are going to discuss the acronym of that is full form of the laser and the characteristics of the laser and other important topics which helps to understand the main concepts of the production of laser from the laser sources. Okay. So the topics in this session we are going to discuss laser, characteristics of laser, and interaction of light with the matter. So if we see laser, laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So laser stands for, so L stands for light, A stands for amplification, S stands for stimulated, E stands for emission, and R stands for radiation. So the full form of laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Okay. Now if we see these laser sources have special characteristics when we compare to all other conventional sources. So what are the all conventional sources? The all conventional sources what we can see in day-to-day life are conventional light sources. So what are the conventional light sources? Sun, which is a conventional light source. Tube light, LED sources, LED light sources, incandescent bulbs, etc. So all these falls under conventional sources. Now if we compare laser with these conventional sources, laser has a special characteristics which we cannot see all these characteristics in all these conventional sources. So what are the special characteristics that laser having? So when we compare with ordinary light, if we see ordinary light, the ordinary light is a polychromatic light. So poly means multiple and chromatic means wavelength or color of the light. So if we see all conventional sources, sun emits white light. So white is a combination of 7 colors, VIBGR. You can see here VIBGR. White light is a combination of 7 colors. If you see tube light, it emits white light. So it's also a polychromatic light. 7 colors are there, 7 wavelengths are present in the white light. If you see LED sources, blue light LED, green light LED, red light LED, all these LED sources are also being called as polychromatic sources because even though they seem to be single color, but it have a combination of different wavelengths of the color. If you take blue, it is a combination of blue color of different wavelengths. So in conventional LED sources are said to be polychromatic. Right. So whatever the light source you take, what you can see in your day-to-day life or where you can see use in our day-to-day life, all the sources are said to be polychromatic light. Whereas laser is a monochromatic light. So mono means single and chromatic means wavelength. So whatever light that is emitted by laser, they are said to be perfectly monochromatic light. If you say red color laser, it's a monochromatic. Green color laser, blue color laser, or different colored wavelengths, lasers, if you see, or they are said to be monochromatic light. So these are special characteristics that we can see in laser when we compare to other light sources. And next one, directionality. If we talk about the directionality of ordered light sources, when we see these light sort of like torchlight or tube light or sun or incandescent bulb or LED sources, whenever the source emits light, the light travels in the forward direction with increase in diameter. So if we observe here, the beam of light, the diameter of the beam expands as it moves away from sources. So it travels in all directions. The light travels in all directions. So it is non-directional light. So which is also called as multi-directional lights. So if you observe the same characteristics in laser, the light coming from laser is almost direct. It travels in one direction. You can see the sharpness of the beam as it travels away from the source. So in the case of laser, as the light emitted by laser, as it moves away from the source, the expansion of beam is almost negligible. So it almost directional. So the light emitted by laser is a high directional beam. If you see the third characteristics, the light emitted by ordinary sources are said to be incoherent. You know that when light is emitted from ordinary sources, it contains a bunch of light waves. So if you observe different light waves here, you can see different waves, red, blue and green. If you observe the phase of these different light waves, you can see the crust of blue is in coincidence with the green. You can see the crust of blue is in coincidence with the trough of green. So crust is coincident with the trough. Again you can see here, the trough of red is coincident with the trough of crust of blue. So if you observe the different waves which are traveling away from the light source, they are not at all in phase. So this beam is said to be incoherent beam. So whatever the light you can see, incoherent light. Whereas if you observe the same characteristics in laser, you can see these are the bunch of light waves or a group of photons which are emitted by light source. If you see, all these are traveling in the same phase, same direction. All these are traveling in same direction. You can see here, in this region or in this region or in this region. All the waves or photons are traveling in same phase, same direction. So as a result, this light is said to be incoherent light. The light coming from laser is said to be coherent because whatever the light beams traveling away from the source, like laser source, they travel in the same phase. If you talk about intensity, characteristic about intensity, you know that the light expands in all directions from ordinary source. So light is nothing but a form of energy, a group of packets, a packet of energy which is called photon. So when the light is emitted from the ordered sources, the photons travel in different directions. The photons travel in different directions. So one photon travels in this direction, one photon travels in this direction, one photon travels in this direction. So different photons will travel in different directions. As a result, some concentration of energy will only travel in a particular direction or in a particular region. So therefore, in that particular region, the intensity of light is very less as we compare to the total energy which is liberated by the source. If you see the same characteristics in laser, you can see all photons, what are the photons which are emitted by the laser? So that means the energy which is emitted by laser, they travel in the same direction. Therefore, all photons, that means the total energy which is emitted by the laser will restrict it to a particular direction. Therefore, it seems to be high intense light. That's why it is cautioned that laser should not be exposed to the eye or any sensitive parts of the body, because the laser is very high intensity, because the total energy is concentrated in a small beam here. You can see this, the diameter of the beam is very small. So the total energy, whatever the energy is emitted by laser, will be concentrated in this small region. Therefore, it is high intense when we compare to other conventional sources or ordinary light. So these four characteristics will make laser source special when we compare to ordinary sources. Among with these five characteristics, one is monochromatic, second one directionality, third one coherent, and fourth one intensity. It has a fifth one, which is the light emitted by laser is polarized. The polarized light. So already you studied this polarization topic of light in your earlier classes. So polarized light means a light beam in which the direction of vibration of particles is confined to a particular direction, single direction. That light is said to be a polarized light. Whereas the light coming from ordinary sources is unpolarized light. So in this light, it contains the direction of vibration of particles in all possible directions. Whereas here, in laser, the light emitted from the laser is polarized. So polarized means here, a light having direction of vibration of particles in a single direction. You can see this is the direction. This horizontal arrow represents the direction of propagation of light. So it have vibration of particles only in one direction. That means light propagate in this x-axis direction, and vibration of particles will be y-axis direction, or else like this. So direction of light in this direction, and vibration of particles perpendicular to the plane of the board or the plane of the source. Whereas in this unpolarized light, suppose this is the direction of propagation of light, and this arrow represents direction of vibration of particles. So it will have direction of vibration of particles in all possible directions. Therefore, it is said to be unpolarized light. Whereas light coming from laser is polarized. So which having direction of vibration of particles only in single direction. So these five characteristics makes light a special light source which is used as a tool in wide variety of fields, like it is used in industries, it is used in medical purpose, it is used in defense for guiding of war weapons or defense weapons, or it is used in commercial application. So in different fields, the laser is used as a special tool because of this special characteristics which it has when they compare to other sources. If we see some of the applications here, so where we can see these lasers here. So you can see laser in laser printer, laser pointer, and these are some of the commercial applications. We have other commercial applications also. Laser shows, where we use lasers as to display the shows there. And in industry, so this laser is used in cutting of metals of different dimensions, of different shapes. And this laser also used as welding of different sources. As well as it also used in different medical application for treatment of retina, that is retina reattachment, which is used to solve the sight problems. And also it is used in removal of tattoos. So today, someone I remember wearing a permanent tattoos. These permanent tattoos can be removed with the help of lasers. So these are the some applications. You can see, other than this, we can see the lasers in defense or research, science and research. So many applications are there. Okay. Now the next one, the interaction of light with matter. So if you understand this, how this light interacts with matter. So this is the main concept behind the production of light from different sources. So whatever the radiation or light we make incident on a material, the material absorbs light. Or in some cases, it scatters the light also. Suppose you know that when light falls on a black body, what do you understand that? The black body absorbs light. So that is, the light is interacting with the matter. In some cases, when light falls on the surface, it reflects from the surface. That means it scatters into different directions. So these are the two phenomena that can happen when the light interacts with the matter. Okay, so when you see, you have to understand these interaction of light with matter, we can understand in a better way when we see, when we go deep into the quantum level. So if you understand that, if you take a material contains molecules, atoms. In turn, this atom contains electrons and nucleus. Now, when light falls on this matter, what happens? When the light incidents on this matter, what happens? You understand here? So, see, for our better understanding, let us assume the material contains atoms, and these atoms and this material contains different number of energy levels like E1, E2, E3, so on. So this atom will make a transition between these energy levels E1, E2, E3, so on. This, depending upon the energy what you supply, depending upon the intensity of energy you supply, the atom make a transition between these energy levels. For our better understanding, let us assume two energy levels E1 and E2. E1 is ground state and E2 is excited state. When we taking these here, in the material, most of the atom lies in ground state. Most of the atoms here. And as we go into higher energy levels, the number of atoms decreases. As the energy level increases, the concentration of atoms in energy level decreases. That means in the lowest energy level, that means in the ground state, more atoms are present in E1. Okay, now, when the light incident on the matter, that means when a photon of energy here, E2 minus E1, which is equal to h nu. When a photon of energy E2 minus E1 is incident on this material, then what happens? So this process is called as interaction of light with matter. So when light interacts with the matter, or when the radiation interacts with the matter, or when a photon is incident on an atom, three processes can be happen here. One is absorption. The second one, spontaneous emission. And third one, stimulated emission. So these are the three processes that will happen in the material when it is interacted with the light or radiation or a photon of energy, E2 minus E1. So these are the three processes that takes place in the material. And these three processes, that means absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. These three processes are responsible for emission of laser from laser sources. Emission of laser from lasers. So we get into deep into this absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. If you see absorption, so already we discussed that more number of atoms are stay in ground state. Some basic things you need to remember here. Here we use the terms like N, capital N. So N, the capital N represents population density. Capital N represents population density. So what is this population density? Number of atoms per unit volume in a particular energy level. Suppose I am talking about N1. N1 means population density. That means the population density in energy level E1. So what this population density represents? Number of atoms in the energy level E1 per unit volume. Suppose we are talking about E2. Here it represented, here in the E2 it is represented as N2. What does N2 represent? The population density in energy state E2. What do you mean by population density N2? Means the number of atoms in the energy level E2 per unit volume. N3, number of atoms in energy level E3 per unit volume. So N represents the population density. Population density means number of atoms per unit volume. Okay. Okay. Now see. Now what do you mean by absorption here? Now for our better understanding, the material what we consider has three energy levels E1 and E2, and atom make transition between E1 and E2. And the same basic idea can be extended to other materials which have energy levels E1, E2, E3, E1, E2, E3, E4, and so on. So this is the basic idea. For our better understanding, we are taking two energy levels here. Now see here. When a photon, that means photon means a packet of energy or light. Light contains photons. So when the light is incident on this material, that means photon incident, then the energy of the photon is E2 minus E1. When the photon incident on the material, the atom absorbs this photon. The atom absorbs the photon, and absorption of energy takes place, or absorption of photon takes place, and atom goes to excited state. And atom goes to excited state. And this process or this transition or this phenomena is called as absorption. Now you need to remember one thing here. The atom which is in energy state E1 will not jump to excited state on its own. It goes to excited state E2 only when we supply an energy of photon which is equal to E2 minus E1. And therefore this absorption process is also called as induced absorption. The absorption process is also called as induced absorption. And this is also called as stimulated absorption. So since we are stimulating the atom, or we are inducing the atom to go through excited state by supplying a photon, that's why it is called as stimulated absorption or induced absorption. Okay, next one. So this is the basic idea I am giving about absorption. Next one, a spontaneous emission. Now see, by supplying photon, the atom absorbs the photon and goes to excited state. Now atom stays in excited state here for a time of 10 to the power of minus 8 seconds. The atom which is excited to higher energy state will stay for a time of 10 to the power of minus 8 seconds. And this time is called as lifetime of atom in excited states. lifetime of atoms in excited state. So after the completion of lifetime, on its own, the atom jumps from excited state to ground state. When the atom jumps from excited state to ground state, the difference of the energy between the two energy levels will be emitted as a out photon. Will be emitted out as a photon here. So see, after the lifetime, the atom jump from excited state to ground state, and the difference of this energy is E2 minus E1, and this difference of the energy is emitted out as a photon, and this is emitted photon. This is emitted photon. So due to interaction of light or energy with the matter, absorption takes place. After that, after the completion of lifetime 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, spontaneous emission takes place, and the same that photon which is absorbed will be emitted as output as a photon, and this process is called as spontaneous emission. And one thing you need to remember here, now this emission process has taken place by the atom on its own after the completion of lifetime. Okay, you can see the definition. So the excited atom returned to the lower energy state on its own, that means after the completion of lifetime. What is the lifetime here? 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. So after the completion of lifetime 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, the atom returned to the lower energy state by releasing a photon, and this emission is called as spontaneous emission. And this spontaneous emission does not depend upon any external parameters. For example, if you take absorption, the absorption will take place when we supply external photon. And this spontaneous emission doesn't depend on any external parameters. So no need to supply any energy here. After the completion of lifetime of the atom in the excited state, automatically it returns to its ground state or lower energy state on its own. And this process is called as spontaneous emission. So next one, the third process that takes place in the matter by the interaction of light is stimulated emission. Now see, in the stimulated emission, initially the atom will be in excited state. That means this is the process which takes place after absorption. Okay. Now this stimulated emission, in the stimulated emission, the atom is in excited state. Now what is the lifetime of this atom in the excited state? 10 to the power of minus 8 seconds. So in spontaneous emission, after the lifetime, that means after 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, the atom automatically comes back to ground state or returns to ground state. What happens in stimulated emission? In the stimulated emission, the atom which is in excited state will be triggered with a photon. Will be triggered with the help of a photon. And the photon which is given as incident photon, this is incident photon. This is incident photon of energy E2 minus E1. So you need to remember here, we need to supply energy E2 minus E1 because we need to trigger the atom from E2 to E1. That means we need to drag the atom from E2 to E1. So this incident photon will drag this excited atom to ground state within the lifetime. That means less than 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. At the time which is less than 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, the incident atom will trigger the excited atom to ground state. As a result, this atom jumps to ground state by releasing a photon. So here we have, this is incident photon, and we have one more photon, this is emitted photon. Emitted photon, or this is also called as induced photon. This is also called as induced photon. Now this emitted photon or induced photon will follow the incident photon, and these two photons will travel in the same direction. and this process is called as stimulated process. Within the lifetime, that means within the time which is less than 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, the incident photon triggers or forcefully attracts the excited atom to ground state to emit a photon, and this process is called a stimulated emission. So when the light interacts with the matter, three processes will take place in the material. One is absorption will take place, a spontaneous emission will take place, and stimulated emission will take place. Now, in order to produce laser, stimulated emission has to take place. So in the next session, we go into the deep concepts of this absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So today we discussed about the summary of this today's session is, we have seen acronym of laser, or what is the full form of laser. We have seen the characteristics of laser. So what are the characteristics of laser? So what are the characteristics of laser? We have seen the light emitted from laser is monochromatic. The next one, it is a high directional light. Coherent light or coherent beam. It is highly intense light. And it is polarized light. So these are the characteristics we have seen in the laser. And next one we have discussed about some of the applications where we use a laser. We have seen overall view here, and we have seen the interaction of light or interaction of radiation with the matter. So what is the interaction of light we have seen here? So absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So these are the topics we have covered in today's session. Thank you.